morning, friends! I still have to be more properly caffeinated before I get on with my day, so I figured I would take you along with the behind the scenes of how I start this all.
What's up, witches? Today I wanted to talk to you about a very overlooked plant, dandelions. Hi, Thor. Now, the thing with dandelions is that they've been very bastardized because of the lawn culture that America has. Lots of thoughts and opinions. I hate American lawns. I hate grass. It's dumb. We could have fields of wildflowers and native grasses, but that's unsightly and HOAs would be mad at you. That's a whole other thing. Now, I wanted to go through a different kind of video today. For those of you that don't know and can't see behind me, I really like books. And one of my biggest collections of books is books on herbs and plants. So I've collected a good amount of them. Usually when I go to thrift stores, I will go to the book section, and a lot of times you find things on plants, medicinal healing, old secrets that your grandma gave you, old wives' tales, farmers' almanacs. So I have a lot of those books, and I wanted to share with you the wide range of things that dandelions are good for, because these plants are amazing. And they're always treated as weeds and bastardized so hard. And it's completely unnecessary because they're so useful. And this is part of the reason that I like to let my lawn just overgrow. I let the grass get tall. I let the dandelions go until they turn into their seed pods, when they're the white fluffy things, and then they go away. They're so good for people and some animals, so I'm going to tell you all about that. So I figure I will give you the running list of things that I've compiled from here, and then I'll give you little excerpts from each of the books. Dandelions are rich in vitamin A, C, E, K, and B, as well as a lot of folate. They're also really high in iron, calcium, magnesium, and potassium. They're full of antioxidants like beta-carotene, which is an anti-aging property. They help calm swelling and inflammation. They promote good kidney health, and you can also use them to make all sorts of oils and infusions and foods. So I wanted to kind of show you and go through all of the things you can use these for, because I found this term recently and I really like it. It's called plant blindness. The concept is basically, in our lives we are surrounded by plants, but we are blind to what they are and what they are useful for, because we've got modern medicines. Why would we look into what you can use dandelions for? Not realizing that it's a free medicine that has been used in dozens of cultures that these have existed in for millennia. So just kind of getting back to our roots, understanding the land around us, and being more in harmony with it. So I think that's really important, and that's something I wanted to promote on my channel. So I figured I would start this series. Let's start with dandelions. So I grabbed 4 books. I have other books, but I thought these were the ones that I was going to touch on. Let's start with the one that everyone seems to promote. I got this a while back. It's got Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs. And it gives you the magical properties, but it doesn't really give you any of the scientific properties or the health benefits. So, dandelions. Taraxium officinale. I hope I'm saying that right. But folk names are blowball, canterwort, lion's tooth, pissabed, priest's crown, puffball, swine snout, white endive, and wild endive. So the gender is masculine, and it's ruled by the planet Jupiter for expansion and growth. The element is air, because the seed pods, it's taken away and transported for the next season by air. The deity it is associated with is Hecate, which is the goddess of magic and healing health. She's very powerful. A lot of different witches work with her. Powers that are included with dandelions are divination, wishes, and calling spirits. And then here, I'm gonna give you some of the magical uses in this book. They're a little woo-woo, but I tend to stick more with like the medicinal and the scientific reasons behind why plants are good. But if you're really interested in the magical workings of these, I will give you those as well. So for magical uses, to find out how long you will live, blow the seeds off of the head of a dandelion. You will live as many years as there are seeds left on the head. To tell the time, blow 3 times at the seed head, the number left is the hour. The root, when dried, roasted, and ground like coffee, is used to make teas. This infusion will promote psychic powers. The same tea steaming and placed beside the bed will call spirits. To send a message to a loved one, blow at the seed head in his or her direction and visualize your message. Dandelions, buried in the northwest corner of your house, brings favorable winds. So, if you're looking for the properties of things, like the magical properties, this is a good book, but it doesn't really tell you what any of it is good for if you're using it in green witchcraft. So, I mean, it's a good book for certain things, but not really for my own uses, so I don't use that very often. But I will go through the books that I like. So we're gonna start out with The Pocket Guide to Herbs, Jenny Linford. This is one of the books that I found thrifting, and I was like, oh, that's cool. The problem with this version is that it's not in alphabetical order, so trying to find it, you have to go into the index in the back and look for the letter, which took me a second, but I found it. It's actually a D letter, but it's way at the back. So, dandelions. Native through the northern hemisphere, the dandelion grows commonly in the wild, found by roadsides, in meadows, and on wastelands and lawns. The common names come from its former Latin name, dens leonis, meaning lion's tooth, a reference to the plant's jagged leaf. Despite being commonly dismissed as a weed, it has a long history of medicinal and culinary use, promoted by Arab physicians in the 11th century. It is a powerful diuretic, hence the common name pissabeds. A Chinese medicine, it is used to treat tumors, abscesses, jaundice, and urinary tract infections. It has also been very valued as a nutritious salad vegetable, rich in vitamins and minerals, often eaten blanched to lessen the bitterness. Its roasted ground roots are a traditional caffeine-free substitute for coffee. So, this is what I mean by the wide variety of what you're going to get out of these kinds of books. It's very brief, it only gives you a page, but it's a good root foundation. Next, this is Edible Wild Plants, Wild Foods from Dirt to Plate by John Callis. He's a PhD. This one has a good section on dandelions, like several pages. To page 270 to 306. So you're getting 36 pages on dandelions, and it gives you different ways to cook it, different properties of them. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I would highly recommend this book. It's really good for foraging, and it tells you all about how you identify the plants if you're not familiar with them, and it shows you the variety of how the roots look. Gives you a general idea. I really enjoy this book. 10 out of 10 would recommend. And finally, this is Midwest Medicinal Plants, Identifying, Harvesting, and Using 109 Wild Herbs for Health and Wellness by Lisa M. Rose. And this one, thankfully, is in order alphabetically, so this is a lot easier to use as a field guide. This also gives you the medicinal uses and gives you a good amount of pages for it. It's technically only 2 pages, it's from 106 to 108, but it is a lot of information. But it tells you about the lymphatic system, it talks about heart health, it talks about lung health, but it tells you where, when, and how to wildcraft, wildcrafting being the foraging guide and how you attain things over time. So, really recommend this book. I really hope this is straight. I'm not sure. As I'm talking to you, I'm gonna separate these because right now I have flowers and buds in here, and I'm gonna give you some recipes that you can use because you can eat all of a dandelion. Actually, I'm gonna need 3 jars. 1 second. Excellent. All right. So as I'm doing this, I'm gonna tell you a little bit. Did you know that you can infuse dandelions into an oil, and it's really good for sore, achy muscles, including your breasts? So if it's that time of the month, if you are a pregnant woman, if you are just having a lot of achy parts of your body after a workout, dandelion infusions and oil are amazing. So you take the flowers, and you let them wilt overnight. This allows all of the moisture to get out, any excess, which lets it become easier to infuse just because then you don't have the water mixing with the oil. Then you're going to pour the herbs into a jar, and you're going to do a 1 part herb for every 4 parts oil, and you're going to let that infuse. And to do that rapidly, you're going to put it on a very low setting on your stove in a water bath, and you're just going to let it infuse for about 8 hours. I wouldn't do it more than that because you don't want it super concentrated, but 8 hours is a good time. And then I'm going to just strain out all the flowers and get all of the extra debris out of it, and then you're going to reheat your oil until it turns clear. From there, you just have to re-pour it to get any of the extra moisture and extra water trapped at the bottom out of it, and then you have oil infused with dandelions. That is a huge bud. Look at that. This is really good for any kind of achy muscles. This is good for any kind of achy tissue. It's really helpful. If you want to add it into a salve, you can put a little bit of shea butter and beeswax in it, and that'll make it more of a hard consistency that you could use as like a balm. But if you just want it as oil, oil works great. It's really good for your skin too. Now, the reason I'm separating the buds from the flowers is because you can eat the buds like capers by just pickling them, and apparently they're really good. That's something I'm going to try this year because I've never done that before. But different people were saying that it's really good and they do it every year, so I figured might as well try it out. Why not? So to do that, you're going to get 1 cup of de-stemmed dandelion buds like we have here, and then you're going to brine them with 1 cup white vinegar, 1 cup water, and 2 tablespoons of salt. And then you just go through the pickling process. They're done reasonably quickly, and then you can just eat them however you want. If you want to just snack on them, that's great. Otherwise, you can also eat them on salads or in anything else where you have capers. So that's another idea. Now, I haven't gotten any roots yet because I wanted to focus on these today. Another thing you can do is not only feeding yourself, but if you have any reptiles, especially like bearded dragons, it's really good for them to feed them dandelion flowers and the leaves. So you take some of the leaves and you cut it up into bite-sized pieces because we don't want our animals choking. And you wash them. I would wash them before cutting them. And then you make sure that you have all of the grass out of it because they can't digest grass, and you're probably going to grab handfuls of that. And then you can just feed it to your bearded dragon. And mine loves the flowers. She's okay with the leaves, but she'll eat all of the flowers first before she even touches any of the leaves. So she recommends them. If you saw it on my TikTok, she really liked it. She thought it was delicious. I don't know if she's ever had them before because we rescued her, but she definitely liked them. So I'm not sure if yours would, but it's something to try out. It's free food. We've got a ton of them outside. You might as well use them for something. This is what I'm talking about with plant blindness, is you've got an abundance of free food outside, and you can eat the dandelion greens just like a salad. They're a little bit bitter, so you probably want to mix them with other things, but they're really good for you. And then let's get on to the roots. I don't have any roots right now, but this is something I'm going to do later. The roots are really good for tea. So what you're going to do is you're going to pull up your dandelions by the roots, and you're going to have a really thick taproot, sometimes a couple of them, and then lots of little fibrous roots. So you're going to take all of the fibrous roots off, whether that's with your hands or with a pruning shears or a scissors or a knife, something. And then from there, you're going to take all of the roots themselves, the big taproots, and you're going to cut them into pieces that are about a centimeter to an inch thick, like a good chunk, but not super big. And then you're going to roast them. And you're going to roast them at 250 for about 3.5 hours. And you'll know when they're done because your house will smell like a very aromatic, sweet, nutty scent that's going through your house. And you'll know it's done. But from there, you let them sit for a little bit, and you can either leave them whole in their chunks as they are, or you can finely ground them with like a coffee grinder. That's totally fine. And then you just put it into tea like you would any other medicinal herb. Obviously, I am no expert by any means on plants. I am constantly learning just like everyone else. But having just a little bit of knowledge of the plants that are growing around us helps to lessen our plant blindness. And my whole goal when it comes to medicinal herbs is to be able to go out into the world and know this plant is good for this is what it's called, this is what it does. And I want to be able to identify things. So starting off with something really simple like dandelions, I think is a really good start. Alright guys, I hope you found this video enjoyable. I hope you go out and you find some dandelions. I'm gonna probably make mead again this year, and I'm gonna use my dandelions in addition to other plants, so I'll take you along on that journey for sure. But until next time, try one of these recipes out. See how magical the medicinal herbs around you that you forget about are. Lessen your plant blindness. Skål, my friends.